Hi, my name is Christin Khan, and I'm from the NOAA Northeast Fisheries Science Center, here to tell you about my work on automated image recognition in the North Atlantic right whale, computer vision for conservation. Right whales number in the hundreds. They were heavily hunted, and they continue to face many threats today, primarily due to entanglement in fishing gear and accidental vessel strike. At the NOAA Northeast Fisheries Science Center, we conduct aerial surveys to monitor the abundance and distribution of right whales. And when we see right whales, we deviate from our track line and fly overhead. Under ideal conditions, we get a photograph like this of an adorable mother-calf right whale. You can see the white pattern of callosity on their head against an otherwise dark background. That pattern of white on their heads is actually something that we can use to recognize individual whales. And shout out to the NOAA pilots who do an amazing job of getting us right on top of these whales. It's not easy to get a picture like that of an animal that doesn't spend too much time on the surface. Once we take the photographs and return from the airplane, we get back to our office and we match them against the New England Aquarium's photo identification catalog. By recognizing these whales as individuals, we're able to learn a lot more information about the population, such as reproductive rates, population estimates. The species is actually so well studied that for many whales, we know who their mother is and how old they are. Now, sometimes recognizing individual right whales from an airplane is really easy. There's this whale ruffian that has distinctive scar patterns on his back, and I can recognize him from a mile away in the airplane without any assistance. But for other whales that maybe have limited sighting records, maybe they're young whales with a pretty generic callosity pattern, sometimes it can be pretty frustrating. And on one such day, frustrated by matching right whale photographs, I took a break and popped out on Facebook to look at some friends' photos. I was immediately greeted by the suggestion that I might want to tag myself in a friend's photograph. And the irony was not lost. I was frustrated, thinking, no, I don't want you to tag me, but could you help me with this whale I was just trying to match? So that got the gears churning. Technology has come so far in recent years, and we really need this technology for whales. So after bouncing around the idea with some friends and colleagues, I hit on the idea of a Kaggle competition. Kaggle is a platform that bridges the gap between data problems and data solutions by hosting data science competitions in which large sets of curated, clean big data are provided for the data science community to test the latest and greatest breakthroughs in the field of machine learning. I provided 7,000 images taken from our aircraft of individual right whales that were recognizable as individuals. 4,500 of these images were used to train the algorithms, and then 2,500 were set aside as a testing set to evaluate the competition and announce winners. The Kaggle competition attracted a huge talent pool. We got 364 teams from around the world, and actually 470 data scientists competed. That's actually more than there are of right whales. So as you can imagine, I was very excited to see the end results of this competition. It was a really pie-in-the-sky idea, and I didn't know if it was going to work, so I was excited and terrified. Turns out the winning solution was able to recognize these whales with 87% correct classification. And this isn't just finding the whale in the photograph. This is actually telling me which specific individual whale is this from a catalog of 400 individuals. The winning team from DeepSense AI is a software company based in Poland, and they won the winning algorithm using neural networks. Neural networks are modeled off the human brain, and they exchange information, send and receive inputs, and are capable of learning. In particular, all the top solutions that placed highly in the contest used convolutional neural networks, which respond to overlapping regions in an image. The DeepSense AI solution was successful primarily because it chained together a series of algorithms. First, they localized the head using a convolutional neural network. Turns out that just even where in this photograph is the whale was a challenge for the machine learning. It was really getting distracted by things like waves and whitecaps and what color the water was and trying to make predictions on individuals based on things that had nothing to do with that individual. So the first step was, where in this photograph is a whale? Next step was to rotate and crop the image into a standardized format. As you can imagine, much like human passport photographs, it's much easier to recognize individuals from a standard front-facing view than it is from party snapshots from a variety of angles. Finally, they trained the convolutional neural network algorithm to look for individual whales on these standardized, rotated, and cropped passport photos. And it was at this step that they tried to identify which whale it was. Finally, there was a little bit of averaging and tuning the predictions to maximize accuracy. The code from the competition is open source and freely available on GitHub. And overall, I was really blown away by the experience of running a Kaggle competition. We got huge worldwide competition from data scientists all around the world. There are people in South Korea and Japan writing PhDs on this contest, which is just phenomenal. I learned that convolutional neural networks have really dominated the field of automated image recognition in recent years and have been hugely successful, really being a game changer in recent years. The winning solution was 87% correct classification, which I thought was pretty impressive for a first try. And finally, we received the open source code on GitHub. So after the competition was over, I actually collaborated with the winning team from Poland on a publication that just came out in Conservation Biology called Applying Deep Learning to Right Whale Photo Identification. This was quite the feat to achieve because as a biologist and as computer vision specialists, we were really coming from very different perspectives, not to mention the language barrier and difficulties of working with people in another country. But we really learned a lot from each other, and I think we succeeded in our goal of writing a paper that really translated machine learning into a language that biologists could understand so that we could try to increase participation in the conservation biology community. So while the competition was a huge success, of course, there were some significant obstacles, and I hadn't fully realized how difficult it would be to go from those algorithms that were able to so successfully match the whale into a product that we could all use. I really wanted this software to be available for field biologists working on right whale issues all around the world with no experience in machine learning. And coming up with the funding and the right solution for this problem took quite a bit of time. Eventually, we decided to leverage existing technology and formed a partnership with WildMe, who turns out has really been doing a lot of similar work on whale sharks, humpback whales, and manta rays. And they've solved a lot of the logistical problems that we were facing with how to run these algorithms on high-performance computers and cloud hosting the solutions on Amazon Web Services, the front-end interface, and web platform. They'd worked out a lot of these kinks. Turns out they had actually written one of the first papers that took actually an algorithm made for NASA star pattern matching and applied it to whale shark identification, which was pretty cool, using the spot patterns on the side of whale sharks. So in the end, we decided to form a partnership with NOAA, DeepSense AI, and WildMe and really leverage the strengths from each organization to create something much greater than any one of us could have done alone. We're using the algorithms created by DeepSense AI from the Kaggle competition and using that in the platform infrastructure created by WildMe. And DeepSense AI has agreed to do a technology transfer over to the folks at WildMe. We're going to do another round of training of the algorithms on a larger data set, and they're going to work together on this and share any information needed to be able to work with these models in the future. In addition to the DeepSense AI retraining, we're also going to be using the WildMe algorithm originally developed for whale sharks. So since we are retraining the algorithms on a larger set of data, this was actually the perfect time to bring in new partnerships. And we were able to work with researchers studying the very closely related southern right whale in the southern hemisphere. Morphologically, they're very similar. And there are research groups working on this closely related species in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina, and Brazil. And we're actually bringing in data from all of those countries and taking advantage of the work that we've done on the North Atlantic right whale to help them in their research as well. This really has exciting potential to show cross matches between populations in the Southern Hemisphere. You can imagine that going through and comparing two large photographic data sets is very time consuming. So having machine learning speed that up is really exciting. And it'll be interesting to see if we're getting any whales wandering between regions. So this has been a long, long road. It has taken several years to get to this point, but we are in the home stretch and we're hoping to launch and have the software available for researchers to use this summer of 2019. And in conclusion, I want you to know that deep learning is really amazing. This technology has just taken tremendous leaps and bounds in the previous years. And what it can do for large volumes of data and data processing is just mind-blowing. So I would really encourage you to think about what work are you doing that could be automated, and is there a way that you can harness all these gains in the field of machine learning to do something really cool with your work that you might not have the time to do manually? If you have any questions or would like to chat further about this work, feel free to drop me an email.